Hey there. Today we're going to dive into the life and work of the famous philosopher and economist Karl Marx. Karl Marx was born on May 5, 1818 in Trier, Germany. He was the son of a lawyer and was raised in a middle-class family. Marx attended the University of Bonn and later the University of Berlin, where he studied law, philosophy, and economics. He eventually became interested in the philosophy of Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel and became a student of philosopher Ludwig Feuerbach. Marx lived in a time of great change, and his philosophy was shaped by the social and economic conditions of the era. In the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution had transformed Europe, and the working class had become increasingly marginalized and impoverished. Marx was deeply concerned with the plight of the working class and devoted his life's work to understanding and improving their conditions. Marx's most famous work, the Communist Manifesto, was published in 1848 and laid out his vision for a socialist revolution that would overthrow the capitalist system. In this book, Marx argued that the history of society is a history of a class struggle, with the ruling class exploiting the working class for their own benefit. Marx believed that capitalism was inherently unjust, and that the working class should unite to overthrow the ruling class and establish a socialist society. Marx's other major work, Das Kapital, was published in 1867 and was an in-depth analysis of the capitalist system. In this book, Marx argued that the capitalist system is based on the exploitation of the working class and that the only way to address this exploitation is through a socialist revolution. Marx's philosophy was based on the concept of historical materialism. He believed that economic conditions were the driving force behind social change, and that the development of the means of production was the key to understanding history. Marx argued that the capitalist system was inherently unstable, and that it would eventually collapse under the weight of its own contradictions. Marx spent much of his life in exile, living in London for many years. He worked as a journalist and continued to write about his ideas on socialism and communism. Marx was a professor at the University of Jena, but his radical views made it difficult for him to find steady academic work. One of Marx's greatest achievements was his influence on the socialist and communist movements of the 20th century. His ideas have shaped political thought and activism around the world, and his philosophy continues to be studied and debated today. Marx died on March 14, 1883, in London, England, at the age of 64. Despite his revolutionary ideas, Marx's life was relatively quiet and unremarkable. He spent much of his time reading and writing, and he was known for his dry sense of humor and love of beer. In conclusion, Karl Marx was a philosopher and economist who devoted his life to understanding and improving the conditions of the working class. His ideas on socialism, communism, and the flaws of the capitalist system have had a profound impact on political thought and activism around the world. Marx's works, the Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital, are still studied and debated today, and his influence on the 20th century cannot be overstated. So, if you ever feel oppressed by the system, remember the words of Karl Marx: "Workers of the world, unite." Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time on Peak Intrigue.